Hey friends, welcome back to another Seed Talk with Lisa and Layne. Hey Layne.
Hello.
So before we jump into that subject that I know will be so popular, just reminding everybody, if you want to learn more about what keeps Layne and I busy during the day, hop on over to thegardenersworkshop.com, which is home base to everything that we do. We have a fully stocked online garden shop. There's a full line of online courses, as well as y'all for tons of free resources. And we just love helping people grow more and better flowers and vegetables too. We don't want them to feel left out of the game, right? So, Layne, what's up for today?
Well, today we're going to be talking about one of the most romantic flowers, in my opinion. I just love these. They look so pretty swaying out in the breeze. They have beautiful fern-like foliage, very productive, lots of different colors and forms. And although they're warm season plants, they're the perfect crop to grow for fall flowers because they actually bloom faster under short day conditions, and the abundance and flower quality in the fall is incredible. So we're going to be talking about cosmos and specifically taking a deeper look at some of our favorite varieties.
Layne, you are so right. And they do bloom all season, but they really just put on the party hat when fall comes, right? I mean, and
Yes.
it's just a perfect match. So many of the colors. So great. Let's dig in.
All right, so the way we're going to go about this is we're going to walk through different varieties, and we're just going to give you some insights and some details, pros and cons, things that you might not find on your standard seed packet label. So we're going to start with one of the most well-known and popular varieties of cut flower cosmos, and it's the Double Click series. There are a bunch of different colors within that series that we'll go through. It has blooms that are usually around 2 to 3.5 inches across. It's about 3 to 4 feet tall, and it's about 75 to 90 days to bloom. What do you love about Double Clicks, Lisa?
It's the colors. I mean, I love that, first off, that the colors are available individually. We grow them as, all many of the different solid colors because that just is, I think some of the most beautiful bouquets is a bouquet of one double click of all the same colors.
Yeah, and that's a great point. You can buy a mix. So if you're a home gardener and you want to get a little taste of all the different colors, you can do that, or you can buy the individual colors. They are a mixture of double and semi-double blooms. So many of them are full doubles, but there will be some that aren't full doubles. And I know that's a question that we get a lot is people will see flowers and they're semi-doubles and they're going, they're not as full as the ones I see in the pictures online. Well, that's to be expected. That's just part of it.
That's right. And Layne, I have some double clicks right here that I would love to share with you guys. And one of them, the one that, I really love, I mean, this is cranberries.
Yes.
This is the perfect fall flower, right? I mean, it's just really beautiful. And I find that the double part of double click is what helps them to last a little bit longer. I think they
Oh,
like to
yes.
have a little bit more structure, right? But this is just a perfect flower for your mixed bouquets or for straight ones. And I
Yeah.
also have this one, which is the pink. Is it Bonbon?
Yeah, Rose Bonbon.
I always think Bon Benny. That was a dahlia that we used to grow years ago, and I always think of that. Anyway, this is the pink, which, we don't grow so much of this in the fall, but all summer and like right now up until late summer, this is a really beautiful one. And I will show you for sure the one that I find to be the most coveted of the mix. This is they call it, is it the bicolor violet? Is that what
Right.
and look, it's almost like they're striped. And this is really a beautiful one to grow straight. And we love that. And then we also have just a few, but I do have some of the bicolor pinks. And look at them. They're just getting started.
Ugh.
So they're kind of a white with pink penciled in, on them. And so just really love all of those colors. They're so useful depending on what your market is. If you're a home gardener, any of these. I mean, the mix or just grow your favorite color, right?
And how about Snow Puff? You didn't have any examples of
I
that. What
don't.
do you have to say about that?
So Snow Puff isn't here. Actually, the Snow Puff, I mean, we always need white flowers or more white flowers. So it is a really nice white to add into your mixed bouquets. What I love about Cosmos is they kind of dance above the other flowers, right? Don't they have that floaty kind of feeling? So a white flower with any color in any season is really, really useful. And we just love that one too. I mean, that's the problem. This is why I grow them all, y'all. I mean, every color I could tell you why you should grow it.
I agree. And cranberries, along with another variety we're going to talk about later, is one of my absolute favorites for fall, just that beautiful cranberry color. So double click is really all about the doubles and semi doubles, the colors. And then, like Lisa mentioned, they do tend to last a little longer because of their doubleness.
Yes, that is they just have more structure, it seems to me.
Right. Okay, now we're going to move on to one called Sensation Mix. It has 3 to 4 inch blooms. It's about 4 to 5 feet tall and around 75 to 90 days to bloom. And this is one that has these really large single flowers. It has pinks, purples, cranberries, whites, and even bicolors. And the plants are really vigorous and tall, and it just makes such a statement out in the garden.
And I find this one is really the butterfly favorite. I mean, the butterflies are so attracted. So these are just getting started and they aren't huge yet, but this is the Sensation Mix. And while you can definitely cut these are primarily singles and they just don't last as long, right? But I find that this is a really fun, this is the one you just think about going out in your garden and just collecting a big handful and bring them back in the house and put them in a vase. Because I mean, it's got bicolors and big, beautiful pink ones. And these are just getting revved up. So, Layne, we'll have to check back in on some of these because these really get going in fall. We really love them.
Oh, I love those. So you already mentioned they are not quite as long lasting a lot of times because they are mostly single flowers. Are there any other negatives you would say to Sensation Mix?
Well, it's not really a negative, but kind of for some people. If you're not going to be cutting these as cut flowers, let's just say you want to add them to your butterfly, or you know what, you want to just plant them for the pollinators, deadheading them will really encourage them to bloom more. And if you don't deadhead them, they just kind of slowly fizzle out. And so that's just a job that needs to be done. And some people will see that as a negative. I perhaps see it as one of the most relaxing jobs around. I mean, it's really very satisfying to do that. So that would be my only negative, but I think Sensation Mix is an incredible garden slash landscape additive. Put it in the back of the border and it'll just really perform.
Yeah. And is this one that you noticed to be one of the taller ones out in your garden?
It does. And I tell you, the other one that gets really tall, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, is the cupcake. That one is like towers in our garden. And so, cupcake in this one is definitely the tallest.
Okay, now we're going to move on to another one, and it's going to be one with really beautiful, soft apricot pink and blush tones. And it's Apricotta, and it's 2.5 to 3 inch blooms. It's about 3 to 4 feet tall. And again, it's about 75 to 90 days to bloom. These are mostly single flowers, but some of them have a little extra tuft right there in the middle. And something about the coloration, they really just seem to glow out there in the garden and in bouquets. And they're one that just works well in all seasons, even in the fall, because there's a little bit of warmth to the color.
I totally agree with that, Layne. And last 2 years ago, we overstarted Cosmos, but we started more seeds than we really had intended. It got double started actually. But that made for an amazing stand of plants, which leads to an amazing harvest. And we got the most gorgeous bouquets. That apricot, when it's them and they're happy and they're big, and ours haven't started to bloom yet. They are really a unique color. I love apricotta.
I love it. Are there any negatives in your mind with this one?
Because if you see, if you're listening to this on a podcast, you just need to know you can head over to our YouTube channel and actually see the slideshow as well as see the flowers that I've been showing. But if you'll notice how cut the ends of these petals are, which kind of gives them that frilly look, sometimes people think they look old even before they get old. So they are kind of a challenge in that way. But we just love them.
Yeah, and there is some color variation from bloom to bloom and even within the blooms themselves, which I think is a positive, but I don't know. Perhaps
Yeah,
some people would say
for
it's a negative.
sure.
All right, and then we're going to move on to Cupcakes Blush, and there's actually also a Cupcakes White. These are 2 to 4 inch blooms, 3 to 4 feet tall, or maybe even taller, like Lisa mentioned, around 90 to 100 days to bloom. And these are so unique because they have this really light, airy quality. And the outside of the flower literally looks like a fluted cupcake wrapper. And then again, just like with the Apricotta, sometimes there's a little extra tuft in the center that's just so cute.
They are, and these have just started here on the farm, and we have exactly what you were talking about. It's got this tufted center, and
Oh, so
um,
cute.
they are. They're pretty dadgum beautiful. And that's just, again, for this time of the year, the color is translucent and just really beautiful. And the white, we really love of that too. But I will say the other two whites that we're going to talk about rule the roost around here on my farm. I love them so much.
Are there any downsides to Cupcakes Blush?
I would say because they're so darn tall, they seem to just, even though it says only to 4 feet on the all the culture information, we find that this one grows really tall, which just means it's more susceptible to toppling. I mean, we net all of our cosmos with flower support netting because of that. So we don't want them to go down. And just like the other ones that I spoke of, actually, Apricotta, they don't last as long as some of the other that the doubles that we prefer. But it's like sweet peas, y'all. It's only 5 days, but it's a great 5 days having those in your vase inside.
Okay, now we're going to move on to, for sure, one of my favorites. I know this is one of your favorites as well, Lisa, and it's Rubenza. It has 2.5 to 3.5 inch blooms, 3 to 4 feet tall, and 75 to 90 days to bloom. And this just has these shades of cranberry, ruby red, and then sort of a muted rose. And the beautiful part about it is they start off with a more intense coloration and then they fade to this softer color. And it's just this, along with double click cranberries, it's just so perfect for fall.
And you can
Oh,
tell how much I love this one by the sheer volume of more
yeah.
blooms that we have. So this is the more intense color, how it looks when it's freshly opened. But this is that faded stonewash blue jean kind of color. And I love this. And this quality makes them last longer. Especially, and the other thing we need to say is that the fall, when they're growing in fall conditions, when they're so happy and sometimes the temperatures are cooling down at night, the cosmos, in our experience, last longer in the vase when you're growing them in the fall. So that the intense summer heat does wring a little bit out of them. And then this Rubenza color, I mean, this faded color is just, I just can't tell you how beautiful it is. We absolutely love Rubenza. He is definitely a keeper.
I agree. And those are single flowers, in case we didn't mention that
Yes,
before.
yes, and they still last.
Yeah.
I would say to people that have thrown in the towel on cosmos, they need to grow them later in the season and see if it doesn't change their mind. You
Yeah.
know?
All right, now we're on to our last two. They're both white colors. The first one is called Fizzy White. It has 2.5 to 4 inch blooms. It's typically 3 to 5 feet tall and 75 to 90 days to bloom. And then Afternoon White is 2 to 4 inches across, 3 to 4 feet tall, and 75 to 90 days to bloom. And let's start with Fizzy White. It has white flowers with these little tufted centers that are just so cute. Sometimes the petals overlap, and these are just very prolific producers, and they have a long vase life as well.
Yes, and that's what makes me love them so very, very much. And up until Fizzy came on the scene, Afternoon White, which we'll talk about in a moment, was my go-to white flower, just because they were prolific, they tended to last pretty okay, and they were big and white, and they just made everything else smile, right? And then Fizzy came along. And I just absolutely love this one. It's got a tufted center and it just adds texture as well as I just love it. And this is the one that I have in my house, just straight bunches of it when they're actually blooming.
It's such a great choice for a white cosmos. And then Afternoon White, which is one of my personal favorites. This is one that was actually bred for the cut flower industry, and it has really large showy single flowers. The golden yellow centers are really beautiful and prominent, and they almost look to me like golden egg yolks in the center. Do you think so,
And look at,
Lisa?
yes. I mean, I just absolutely love this flower too. I love them all. I mean, it's like, how do you pick? You can't really pick.
You can't.
But this is our first cutting of these guys, and they're just beautiful. We just absolutely love them. And they last long enough in the vase, 5 to 7 days. And they're really, really beautiful. And we ought to say also, I'm showing all these big, wide open flowers. We cut them in bud, just as they're cracking. But this is
Yes.
what they look like, a bunch of them with their blooms open.
Are there any downsides to either Fizzy White or Afternoon White in your mind, Lisa, aside from the fact that you said Fizzy tends to last a little bit longer in the vase than Afternoon?
Sure. And, just that all white flowers age quicker. They don't age quicker. They show their age faster. And that's what makes them seem like they expire really quickly. It's just that they're such a light color that it really shows. And so just be sure to cut them. You can see on the Afternoon White right above the W are those buds that haven't opened. That is the harvest stage. And they're worth figuring it out. And again, if you struggle in the summer with them, plant them a little later and see how it goes.
Yeah. And like you mentioned before, it is important to harvest at the proper stage for any of the colors, but whenever you're dealing with a lighter color, that's just going to show more pest damage from the elements so much faster. So just be sure to harvest those in a timely manner.
Yeah. I just, we during our high production years, we did not grow cosmos just because of its short window of opportunity. But we brought them back on board probably about 3 or 4 years ago as we were downsizing our growing operation. And, once you figure it out, we succession plant them 3 times. And I mean, they're just, everybody loves them. You just have to figure out how to make them fit in your garden. What's the timing and how are you going to handle them?
We should also mention too that cosmos are one that you should hold back on that fertilizer, because if you do fertilize too much, this is one of those that will just put up a lot of foliage and may not bloom or may not have very many blooms.
That's a great point, Layne. So they'll actually grow in what we call lean soil. That's soil that's not hard clay. That just means it's not really nutrient rich. And so they will really perform in sometimes those spots that a lot of other stuff won't actually grow. But yeah, but they're easy keepers once you figure it out.
They are. And like we said, beautiful in the garden, beautiful in bouquets. They're for everyone.
Yes. And butterflies.
I was just going to say, and the pollinators too.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for this episode on cosmos. If you're watching over on YouTube, please feel free to leave a comment saying which of these varieties is your favorite, or do you have a variety that's a favorite that we didn't cover? And if you're listening in a podcast app, you can also let us know that by using the form linked in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining us again. We always appreciate your ratings and reviews in a podcast app and your likes and comments over on YouTube. And please be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're watching or listening, and to share with a friend if you're enjoying Seed Talk.
So thanks for another great episode, Layne. And friends, remember, you want to learn more about what we do and what we're all about, you can find it all over at thegardenersworkshop.com. And we'd love to see you drop in over there. All right, friends, till we meet again. Ciao.
Bye.